Hello and a very warm welcome to the World Championship online preview. My name's Nick. This is Alex. Alex, we've got a whole bunch of stuff to show people today, right?
We do indeed. We've got stuff from Warhammer 40,000, Warhammer the Age of Sigmar, Warhammer the Horus Heresy, Warhammer the Old World, and some stuff from Black Library.
There's going to be stuff you're expecting, stuff you're not expecting. It's going to be very exciting. We're here, of course, this weekend because the World Championships are taking place in Atlanta right now as we speak, as well as the Grand Narrative there as well. The Grand Narrative is taking place at Warhammer World here too, and
yes, it is.
You're there this weekend.
I am. I'm somehow here and there.
So you're being a Necron, I believe, of some description.
Indeed.
Which is, it's great. I can't wait to see that costume. But there we go. Welcome to all of you at the event especially. But without any further ado, it's time to look at our first preview. And this one's been waited for and looked forward to for a long time.
The Death Corps of Krieg are back.
They're here. They're finally here.
Yep.
We've teased and hinted about these guys for a long time, and it's finally time to unleash the Death Corps of Krieg into the world. And that army set looks really cool as well, doesn't it? They are a much awaited for and beloved regiment, aren't they?
Yeah, we've had them in the Kill Team box. We've seen some resin from Forge World,
right.
But now we are getting a whole plethora of releases in plastic.
Yes, alongside the Astra Militarum Codex, of course, and they'll be the first army of 2025. What a way to kick off the year. Alex, first of all, before we go any further, who are the Death Corps of Krieg? How do they fit into 140,000?
So the Death Corps of Krieg are the regiments that are raised on the world of Krieg. Now, Krieg fell into civil war about 500 years ago, and it's never been the same since. The surface is now a blasted, irradiated wasteland. And when the Imperium finally made contact again, they showed up and doing the most Imperium thing possible went, you owe some tithes. And Krieg, instead of sending some troops or one regiment, provided 20 regiments fully equipped. And immediately the Departmentum Militarum went, this is great, took over the world, sort of tuned everything up to 11. And so now they just pump out all of these fantastic soldiers.
That's cool. It seems to me like it's a bit of a war of attrition and life is a bit cheap maybe in the Krieg regiments.
Yes, so life for them is not necessarily cheap. So they're not part of like a cult of sacrifice necessarily, but they've had it ingrained, indoctrinated into them since birth that they need to sell their lives in service of the Emperor in order to gain redemption for their ancestors.
Now, the armies of Krieg are a great representation of the armies of the Astra Militarum, of course, regiments upon regiments of infantry backed up by huge guns and artillery, and of course, the rolling thunder that is the Astra Militarum tanks.
Oh, yes.
And there's all of that to be expected inside the new codex as well. Right, but let's take a look at some of the new miniatures we've just seen in that new army set. And up first, these are incredible. These are the Death Riders, now available in plastic. Who are these guys, Alex?
So these guys, the riders tend to be a little more free-thinking than your average Krieg soldier. They're given a little bit more freedom in order to operate. It's from their ranks that most of the officer corps are eventually taken. Now you'll notice here the Krieg steeds they're on look very much like horses, but they're deceptively not.
They're a bit weird, aren't they?
So they essentially roll off a production line. They're given subdermal armor, they're given rebreathers, and you can see there at the end of their legs, they're not hooves, they're claws. So they're a product of Krieg whereby, life is a little bit cheaper than the tank. Therefore, we've got a mount, and it's got claws so that it can get over any kind of rubble or debris or whatever it is in the way. And these guys, they act as scouts, they act as shock troops, they really pack a punch. How do they play?
On the table, they're actually quite a flexible unit, quite a utility unit. So the Rough Riders with Tiller we've seen before are just there to punch into a unit as hard as they possibly can. But these guys have quite a little bit more flexibility in there. They've got las carbines as assault weapons they can all carry, and they have the screening line rule, which lets them move after enemies have moved as well to protect their lines, and they can get bogged down into combat. Every single one of them carries a power saber, which is is really cool. And they therefore protracted combat, so you can charge them in and lead them against infantry units rather than just try and destroy in one hit, which is nice. So lots of different uses for them, speed, combat, the works. Just great models. And what's nice as well is the steed's claws actually have nice rules. It's got AP1 on the claws for the steed. So it's sharper than a spaceman's combat blade, which is great. These are fantastic. I love the fact in particular you talked about when they're rolled off the production line, the steeds. That's just a terrifying thought.
They're not given names. They're all given serial numbers.
Oh, no, it's horrible. 40k is great. On to the next model. Now, big guns never tire in 40k, and it's certainly true in the Krieg forces. These are the artillery teams. Huge guns, even bigger than the field ordnance we've seen before. Tell me more about the siege artillery of the Krieg's forces.
Krieg tends to specialise, as we said, in siege warfare. And, if you're trying to attack a bunker or a fortress or anything, you need something that is going to smash apart the walls so you can charge in. This is exactly what these things do. Now, there's a couple of different weapon options for these.
So yeah, there are 4 weapon options for the artillery teams here. We've got the heavy mortars, ideally for just smashing heavy infantry away. The quad launchers are there for massed infantry. The multiple rocket launcher takes out tough infantry because it's anti-infantry 3+. And my favourite, this huge siege cannon, which is just a devastating explosive charger. Damage 3 shots. Now, none of these are very accurate, but when they hit hard, which is great. It's nice to have these miniatures at the back of the battlefield. And of course, that model is huge. It's on a 130mm round base, which is monstrous. It's a nice little diorama for your forces as well. Really cool little bit of equipment and stuff at the back as well. It's a really nice little modelling project. And I hope you like painting sandbags. Up next, we've got the Krieg Combat Engineers, Alex. Now, these guys look like they're running forwards, which isn't ideal for guardsmen normally.
No, typically a guardsman wants to be on a gun line with, a lot of his mates.
Yeah.
But really, these guys, their duty is to go forward, to dig trenches, to clear wires, clear landmines. It's a really thankless job. But they've got a little bit more armour and they're equipped for close quarters fighting. So they've got flamers and shotguns and swords and lots of trench clubs.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty tasty in a fight, these guys. They've also got the scout rule. They can move before the game begins to get further forwards. The grenadiers rule lets them have the grenades stratagem for free. Here we can see this little remote mine, which is a really cool little attack that one of the guys over the controller just sends out, doing mortal damage to nearby units, which is just a cool little model and probably going to be everyone's favourite of the preview, isn't it? Let's be honest. What a great set that is. But leading them all into battle is the famed Lord Marshal Dreer. Yeah. What a model this is, Alex.
So Lord Marshal Varnon Dreer, basically he's achieved his position entirely through merit, as you'd expect from the Death Corps of Krieg, but he leads from the front. This isn't a general that stands at the back and orders his troops forward. This guy is going to be in the thick of the fighting. His mount, ES-819, as I said earlier, they've all got numbers, not names, has fallen several times in battle, and the Lord Marshal insists that it is repaired and returned to him.
The fact it's called repaired rather than just healed. I love it.
And so this has created this kind of myth about them that they are indestructible. But, Dreer is well aware that that's not actually the case.
Well, it's a nice little bit of narrative here comes in the gameplay, because this myth about him being indestructible, actually, he has a rule called tough to kill, whereby, like my Lord and Saviour, Rutger Guilliman, he can come back after he's been killed, or maybe.
Yes.
But he's particularly tough to get rid of, which is nice when the sort of the narrative marries up with the rules on the table. And his sword there is the Sabre of Sacrifice, is a devastating sword too. He's an inspirational leader for your forces. Don't run away when he's nearby, and can lead Death Riders units into the fray as well, which is just great. Gives devastating wounds on a charge to a unit of Death Riders, which is really cool.
We've mentioned is just a stunning model. That base in particular, I can see this being one of many Golden Demon entries.
Oh, you're absolutely right, aren't you? Can't wait to see those. Right. There's also other stuff coming alongside Death Corps of Krieg. Now, of course, we've got the Astra Militarum Codex here. Now, we've talked a lot about the Krieg stuff, but of course, the Astra Militarum Codex will deal with the entire forces, the Cadians and other forces. It mentions all the regiments of the Astra Militarum in there as well. Just like any other codex, you can expect to see the backgrounds of the regiments, the fighting units, the rules for all of those, the history of its most important conflicts it's fought through in the past. And, excitingly enough, there's a brand new combat patrol as well called Drayden's Lance, which sees Rough Riders of Attila charging into battle, backed up by Kazakin and a command squad, which is great.
Yeah, this is an incredibly flexible combat patrol. Because as you said, those Rough Riders give you a huge amount of speed, and the Kazakin form a really nice solid centre.
It's a really nice start for an army as well. If you're thinking about starting Astra Militarum, don't forget the current Astra Militarum combat patrol is still good to use as well, so don't worry about that. And of course, the Codex will see every rule for every unit, character, and vehicle. We already know some really exciting stuff about how units are changing. The tank commanders, for example, a Limeras tank commander and a Rogel Dawn tank commander are separate things now, so they can have their own rules. And the detachments in there are 5 different detachments for the Astra Militarum, depending on how you want to fight. For a combined arms regiment, you've got a siege regiment for all your big guns, the mechanized assault for jumping out of tanks. Hammer of the Emperor is just all tanks. Which has a really nice stratagem where your tanks can just roll through terrain like it wasn't there. And last, a recon element detachment is basically all about your guys being camouflaged and using cover to the best of their ability, which is really great fun. Just any way you want to play Imperial Guard, you've got a choice there.
That's it. I really like the siege regiment there, where the stratagem allows you to fire into combat. You might risk your own guys, but it's worth it.
You definitely do risk your own guys. You're absolutely right. Yeah, your whole army can fire into a combat, but the unit, your friendly unit in combat, is back in trouble.
Yeah.
But that's great. Other releases coming in the future alongside the Astra Militarum release after the army set will include the new Death Corps of Krieg Command Squads, which is a gorgeous unit as well. Now, interestingly enough here, you'll notice, folks at home, that that's not an officer leading that command squad. That's a commissar. And on the left is a commissar cadet as well. Why commissars here for the Death Corps?
So for most units, a commissar basically acts as a measure by which morale is kept by everybody does their duty. However, for the Krieg, it's sort of the opposite way around. So they have a habit of not necessarily expending their lives needlessly, but perhaps a little bit more enthusiastically than other regiments. And so the commissars are often there to hold them back. You've also got the alchemist, who allows basically the entire unit to resist toxins because he's a chemical warfare specialist.
That's really nice. It's their version of a medic, basically, that guy there, as well as all your veterans in there, and maybe my favourite Servo Skull in Warhammer 40,000, the Servo Skull pair, who are there to keep notes of everything with a little inkwell and pen.
That's it. You know this is a note to last because he's got the second Servo Skull making sure it never touches the ground.
Super important. Also coming alongside is the Heavy Weapons Squad. Of course, we've seen the Cadian Heavy Weapons Squad before. This is the Krieg version with slightly different weapons, actually. There's 3 different weapon options here. We've got the twin-linked stubber. We've got the big old las cannon. You'll have seen those before in plenty of different ways. But exciting enough is the huge Krieg Heavy Flamer as well, which just looks great.
That's it. You don't really think of having a heavy flamer as part of a weapons team like this, but as you can imagine, say you took one in a squad, it's that guaranteed Overwatch success.
I mean, take 3 in a squad, Alex, if you wanted to. Why not? These are range 18, strength 5, AP 1, damage 2 flamers. Oh, that's absolutely devastating. Don't charge them, whatever you do. Really cool to see those. And there we go. That is all the new models coming for the Death Corps of Krieg, which is exciting. But there's more stuff coming in the festive period.
There is. So throughout December, on the Warhammer community website, there's going to be a series of downloads available, which are detachments for Warhammer 40,000 as some kind of Grotmas calendar.
Happy Grotmas, everybody. Throughout December, we're releasing 30 different downloads for Warhammer 40,000, all match play legal, all game legal. You can use them wherever you want to at all. And there's some really exciting stuff in there, including the index for the Death Watch is on the way. Death Watch players will be very happy to see there'll be ways that you can use your kill teams that you have in their new index coming, and also Chaos Demon players can be excited too. There's 4 detachments coming for them, 1 for each of the Chaos powers. What's really nice is that they've been future-proofed too. So we just seen the Astra Militarum is getting their new codex soon, but their Astra Militarum detachment they're getting during the Grotmas calendar is still legal once that book comes out too. So yeah.
So when you get your new codex, you can still continue to use these.
Absolutely. It's really cool, isn't it? Nice to see. Right. We're going to leave Warhammer 40,000 and we're going to head off to the old world. Yes, the Empire of Man returns to the old world, a much beloved army for the old world. And here it is with a whole swathe of releases. This is a really exciting one.
There is a huge number of kits coming back for this. And one of the best things about it is that this means you can field a whole Empire army entirely in plastic.
That is great. It's a really cool thing to see. Many people who've played with Empire in the past will recognise a few of these miniatures, if not all of them. It's just great to see them back on the table again. But for now, who are the Empire of Man at this point in the old world, Alex?
So for about 1,000 years, the Empire has basically been a state of disarray. And after the time of the three emperors, we've had the Vampire Wars, and finally, there's now about 4 factions. And they're not in a civil war outright, but, towns change hands and the occasional skirmish happens. So not everything is particularly peaceful.
Empire armies are made up of professional soldiers. There are blocks of state troops, missile troops, artillery, cavalry, and of course, fantastic monsters and war machines too. They're such a fun army to have. And we're going to see loads of old favourites coming back, including the state troops, the missile troops, the pistoliers, the knights, Demigryph knights, and of course, more exotic things like the steam tank, the general on Griffin, and the war altar are all coming back as well, which is really cool. We've got some metal kits coming back as well, right? Remember the Grand Masters of the Knightly Orders from the past? I painted the Knights of Pantheon when I was young. They're coming back. Warrior Priests, Tuchin Guard are on the way as well, which is nice to see. There's a strong Middenheim theme for this force this time around. We've got the Made to Order stuff with the classic Empire Engineers, Battle Standard Bearer, General on Griffin. The Commander on Pegasus is coming back, flying in from the 90s. Some real classics. We're also going to see the Imperial Ogres coming back. Now, these predate even my Empire army. Great to see these coming back from the past.
And this guy, this is the one with the hand cannon, but there's also going to be hand weapons and great weapons.
Yeah, there's going to be a few options. Literally a hand cannon this guy's carrying. But, Alex, let's talk about the star of the show. It is, of course,
the War Wagon.
The War Wagon is making its appearance back in the old world after not being available for some 25 years. It's just great to see. Now, this is a Forge World resin kit. It's actually a Forge World remaster. They've taken the original kit and remastered it up, sharpened up a lot of the points, made the detail crisper. They've resculpted the horses at the front. Those are brand new. And this chap here is the engineer that accompanies them. He's a brand new model as well. But it's just great. Now, I'm right in thinking there's lots of strange weapons on top of the guys in that little couple, right?
Yes, there is. So these sort of things fell out of fashion in the Empire. But then when Nuln came along and decided to deploy an entire fleet of them, everybody wanted a piece of the action.
You've got in there the man catcher, you've got the bombard launcher, the Hochland long rifle, there's a repeater gun and a hook halberd in there as well. All the experimental weapons together in one place just in case one of them explodes, which is nice to see. A great miniature. Add it to your collection very soon for the old world. Wonderful to see. And of course, alongside all the releases, we have the Arcane Journal for the Empire of Man. And naturally, it's got all the history of the Empire, the city-states, the geography, uniform guides in there. There's a historical refight in there. We can fight a battle against the Beastmen. And new armies of infamy in there as well, aren't there?
There are indeed. So we can we've got a non-gun line there. And there's also, you can field any of the knightly orders.
They each have their own special rules, which is nice. Yeah, so you have a Knights Panther army, a Blazing Sun army, which is really cool. And there's some new special characters too.
There are indeed. So we've got Harold Gemmonson, Grandmaster of the Knights Panther, and General Hans von Lowenhack.
Now, we're not going to show you pictures of those yet. They are very lovely, I can guarantee you this. But make sure you're keeping your eye on the Warhammer Community website for more information on those very soon. But there's also a slew of new units we've never seen before in an Imperial army for Warhammer Old World. So, exciting times. Keep your eyes on that and grab hold of that Arcane Journal when it's available. Now, from one old world to another, we're going to the Horus Heresy.
So the Arvus Lighter returns, the little pig that could fly.
What a great kit, and beloved by Horus Heresy
It is
fans all
indeed.
over. Wonderful to see it actually available in plastic now, which
Yes.
is really cool for the first time in this scale. Why is it so beloved, Alex?
So typically when the army wants to deploy something, they've got these massive landers. However, if you just want to bring, some bullets, some fuel, a squad, the Arvis Lighter is basically the workhorse of the Divisio Aeronautica.
I remember using them in Aeronautica Imperialis quite a lot, and they're great in that too, but it's nice to see them here. They are a cheap transport flyer for your armies of heresy. They can transport 12 Solar Auxilia models, and they can move 20 inches, which is fast. So ideal for a combat squad or a command unit, or to get a special unit out of combat as soon as they need to. It's just great to see. What's nice as well is the new model's got this chap in the back, modelled to be firing a huge laser cannon out the back as well.
That's it. And he's modelled directly in there, so he's hanging out. It's a lovely little bit of character to the model.
It's really nice. And also, I'm told that there'll be rules for that on the way soon as well, which is cool too. Great to have that in the game. But let's on to another couple of tanks. Always fun for Heresy. This is the Valdor Tank Destroyer. That might be one of the biggest guns I've ever seen. Tell me more about this thing.
So these are based on the Malcador frame, named for the Sigillite. And this is an older variant of tank, which eventually will be replaced by the Leman Russ, because it's a little bit less reliable. However, it's bigger, thicker armor. At this point in time, it's got a lot more variants. And this Tank Hunter one basically has a neutron beam weapon on the front of it. And these are basically replicas of a Dark Age relic. So they're incredibly powerful. And in order to power it, they've in fact had to remove the front sponson to fit in more power
It's
generation.
just a giant battery in the back, is it? To fire that
yes.
big gun. I love the fact that the Heresy weapons are called things like a neutron beam laser. It just does what it says on the tin. It's a devastating weapon. It's strength 10, concussive 3, AP 1, and the whole tank is armor 13 all round. So it's pretty tough too. Don't get into a tank fight with one of these. You're going to lose. Also on the Malcador frame is the Malcador Infernus, and this one, it maybe has a different speciality.
Yeah, so we've gone from heavily anti-tank to heavily anti-infantry. It's got a massive flame weapon on the front. The carriage on the back contains a mixture or a series of fuels that have yet to be mixed that are pumped just behind the turret. And I was under the impression that maybe this was an element of safety.
Almost certainly not. It's going to be sort of saving fuel, isn't it? That's going to be the way to do it. Yeah, it's not about safety at all. I love the fact it's got extra flamers on the sponsons just in case there's anything nearby enough that didn't get burned by the big cannon. This huge Infernus cannon that it's carrying uses the Hellstorm template, that gigantic, remember the old Apocalypse template?
Yeah.
That thing is like 18 inches long and it's strength 8, this flamer. So yeah, it just burns infantry alive. Don't get near it. So up next, we've also got the new Doridio Dreadnought. This is the Boreas configuration. It's even more Covenant guns than any other Doridio Dreadnought has been before.
That's it. So basically, the Doridio is a stable firing platform. It was developed around the same time as the Contemptor, so it shares some of the features. And early on in the Heresy, it was, not necessarily in great use. But when you're facing Legiones Astartes and you need to bring as much firepower as possible, it became very popular.
It's just a wonderful looking kit. It's so unsubtle, yet it's got guns and really big ones too. The Boreas configuration has these air defense missiles on top. It can carry 4 of them. They have the Skyfire rule that just shoots things out of the sky. It can also have the choice of carrying the Volkite Falconets, which have the Deflagrate rule, or the Arrakis Heavy Las Cannon Battery, which just blows tanks away. So really, really big guns on a really toughness 7, 2+ save walking platform. It's just great. Really great. Get one of those in your force.
Comes alongside 2 weapons kits.
Of course.
So if you've already got a Doridio Dreadnought and you want to upgrade it to the Boreas configuration, there's a kit for that. And if you've got one of these and you want to convert it back, there's another one.
That's great. That means you can have real versatility in your modelling kits and you can really take to battle the one you want to use. That's fantastic. Right, let's move from the Horus Heresy and now we're moving to the Mortal Realms. Wow, the Auric War Clans are here for the Mortal Realms, the brand new battle tome, cool new models, and lots of other things we'll have a look at in a second as well. What's nice here is the rules team have taken the chance to separate the factions out. So in that book, the Kruleboyz and the Ironjawz are two separate factions, essentially two different armies that share a couple of things in common throughout the book as well, which is nice. And up first, part of that is this new boss towers we can see here as well. This is the new faction terrain for the Aurics. It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, always very cool. So this is the Scaregob Totem. So this is the Kruleboyz version of this, whereby they'll put these up around their territories to indicate, this is mine, not yours. They have a habit of sort of whispering, because it's not just a little watchtower. This is wrapped up in the winds of magic, and say an enemy army is approaching, they'll hear these whispers, the mists will start up, they might get lost in the fog, or you could put a boss up there to amplify everything.
You can put a boss up in both of these towers, but they become a shouty boss. And they have various rules that go alongside them. Let's have a look at the Ironjawz version. This is the Boss Rock Tower. And similar sort of situation. They've built a huge tower here, but a bit less subtle, perhaps.
Yes, whereby the Kruleboyz might have a bit of thought, a bit of planning, because they're the Morky element. The Ironjawz are the Gorky element. And this is where basically the War Chanter has found a rock he really likes, or it's saturated in war energy. And rather than be a watchtower necessarily, the boss can go up here and can literally bully the winds of magic.
He does, yeah. A shouty boss inside the Boss Rock Tower gets the aggressively bossy rule to literally boss around the enemy army, which is really nice as well. So faction train coming with the Aurics very soon. That's really cool. Also, we have the new manifestations here as well. These are the endless spells used by the Auric War Clans. Both the Kruleboyz and the Ironjawz wizards can use these. And of course, on the right-hand side, it's the Foot of Gork, a famous and beloved spell from the background of Warhammer here. And that literally stomps around the enemy army, causing devastation, which is great. The Gork Roarer there, it's got the skull with the mists coming out of it, conjured by wizards to aid them in their magical spells, but at potential risk. Their head could explode if they imbibe too much of the magical smoke.
Very orky.
Very orky, yeah. The Mork Spitmarsh is the last one here, and this transforms the land into a squelching swamp, which if enemy units go anywhere near, or heaven forbid through, they could be in real trouble. So that's really nice to see new sort of manifestations for the faction. Of course, we've also got the new Spearhead coming for the Ironjawz as well. You've been asking for it, and here it is. Every time I run an event, someone asks when this one's coming along.
Yes.
And it's right now, a bunch of Ironjawz there, led by a mega boss. You've got 2 units of Ardboys, 5 apiece, a unit of 3 Brute Ragers, and 5 Brutes for a seriously hitty Spearhead.
That's it. You've got 4 units of infantry, so they've got to take a long time to get across the table.
Yeah, they really are. Well, you'd think that, but the Mighty Destroyer's battle trait rule lets them move in any hero phase, so they're coming at you in your turn, which is terrifying. Also, in a game of Spearhead, lets them be quite maneuverable, which is always a bonus, but not that they think about objectives when it comes to a game of Spearhead. Of course, don't forget the old Spearhead is still legal to use. There'll be a Kruleboyz one there. The Fire and Jade book still has those in, so you can still use that. There's another new miniature coming here, Alex, the Hobgrot Slitter Boss.
Yes.
What a cool model, this guy. Tell me about that sword. Why is it dripping in whatever that looks like?
So these guys basically lead the Hobgrot companies, and so they get the best gubbins, the best weapons, the best scrap, all of that, and they'll tend to grab the biggest weapon, because obviously that means you're the best, and they'll slather it in various toxins and stuff, just to guarantee that they win.
This has got a really nice rule that ties in with that called Toxic Stash, where once per battle it's got a chance of outright killing an enemy hero on a lucky dice roll, which is really cool. So that's coming to Legion Hobgrots. And also we've got the new Battle Tome, of course, which has everything you've come to expect from a Mortal Realms Battle Tome, all the history of the factions, the characters, their famous battles, lots of information on their battle traits, formations, that sort of thing, all the rules you'll need. The Path to Glory rules are in there too, and split between Ironjawz and Kruleboyz, so you can choose which way you want to go. And there's some really nice bits in here as well. One of the Armies of Renown is the Big War. Previously, you were able to mix all your orcs together. Yeah. Now you can with that Army of Renown, and that lets you use all of those together, but has specific battle traits, specific enhancements, that sort of thing there as well. And my favourite regiment of Renown is called the Hurtling Hogs.
Bring all the swine.
All the swine. Have more grunters in any of the destruction armies as well, which is just really good fun.
That's great.
So there we go. That is the new Auric War Clans coming very soon. And of course, we've got something else coming now as well. This is the new Path to Glory book, Alex.
Indeed. So this is Ravaged Coast, and we've previously fought in Hellcrown along the Ravaged Coast, which is basically that region in between the Nor and the rest of Akshi. We've been fighting in Embergard, and we're right here in Hell's Claw, slap bang in the centre there. And this is basically a ruined city, previously Khornate, then Sigmarite, and now, up for grabs. And all 4 factions are basically trying to dig it up, take the Ember Stone, and control this very important territory.
Path of Glory, of course, is a way of playing narrative games where you follow your heroes through a path, going on quests, earning special enhancements, all written into this book. It's a very different and fun way of playing Warhammer Age of Sigmar if you're just used to playing match play. Highly recommended. And this book is chock full of background and bits and pieces for you to play your games at home as well. The Anvil of Apotheosis is in there as well, lets you create your own heroes. And the book actually contains some examples of converted heroes that people have done too, which is really nice to see. So it really lets you stretch your hobby muscles as well. Yeah. It's a nice different way of playing the game. Now, we've seen the Warhammer 40,000 getting their Grotmas calendar earlier on. Warhammer Age of Sigmar fans will have a similar sort of thing too, as they are going to be getting some holiday downloads too. There's 8 Regiments of Renown on the way. Again, these will be match play legal. You can use them in your games wherever you want to. 2 per Grand Alliance, which is nice. And a Regiment of Renown is a really nice way of adding other models from different factions into your army.
Yeah, it adds a different flavour.
It's a good excuse to paint some cool models. So expect those coming for Grotmas for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, which is cool. But that's not all for the Mortal Realms.
Nope.
We've got even more coming. Yes, well, we've seen the Auric War Clans, but now their shorter, meaner-spirited cousins are on the way.
Yes.
This is the new Gloomspite Gits coming to the Mortal Realms. And leading the way are the Git mobs, who are these... It looks like Grots riding giant wolves. Alex, who are these guys?
That's pretty much it. So previously we've been all about the Moon Clans, but now the Git mobs are getting their time in the sun. No pun intended. And basically they hate Glareface Frazzlegit. So this is the Light of Hysh. Hysh and Orgu basically provide the night and day cycle in the realms. However, the Light of Hysh hurts their beady little eyes. And so they've decided that they're going to take it down. And so these guys wear loads of shiny weapons and armour, and that absorbs the Light of Hysh, hopefully weakening their mortal enemy.
They also use it as a weapon as well, don't they, to against their foes. We'll see that in a second. Some wonderful miniatures on the way. I wanted to just re-emphasise, by the way, that the MoonClan stuff is still in this book.
Oh, yes.
It is still 100% good to you, so don't worry, MoonClan fans, you're still involved. But the Gitmob stuff, let's have a look at some of the new models coming in this army set. Now, these are the Snarlpack Cavalry. We've seen the Snarlpack Riders before.
Yes.
The Snarlfang Riders, sorry, which are the sort of the cavalry. But these are even bigger Snarlwolves with 2 grots on the back rather than 1. Tell me about these guys.
So these are larger Snarlfangs, as you said, and basically the 2 grots on the back have to raise the pup from birth in order to ride it. And this is one of those rare times whereby grots have to work together, because if they don't, chances are they're going to get eaten, or the boss is going to remove them from play.
How many failed grot teams have there been in the past?
We don't keep count.
I love the fact these models are covered in spears and spiky bits all over them. It's just really, really great miniatures for them to charge into combat. Their Frazzle Burned Scrap rule sees them strike first if they charged, as they glare their enemies out with it, dazzle them with the light that they've stored.
That's it. You'll notice that as a running theme, particularly with the shields, that they absorb the Light of Hysh, and as they impact into combat, they basically discharge it and blind the enemy.
As talking of absorbing light and stealing it, this is the Sunstealer Wheeler. This is the new lightweight chariots coming along, built for speed and pulled by the Snarlfangs. They look like they're not just built of normal wood, though.
No, so these things are made out of wicker, and as you said, these are supposed to be really lightweight. But as you can see there, the little effigies of Glareface Frazzlegit, they will, discharge that light, and you've got a very flammable chariot there. So eventually, these things burn up.
They really didn't think about it, did they? Just a wonderful little kit, and covered in spikes as well. These things have got a careening destruction rule. They do mortal wounds as they run over enemy units on the battlefield, which is quite good fun, isn't it? But leading the force, the army set we've seen there, this miniature is Drogs the Sunchomper. looks like a big leader for the Git mobs. Who is this guy, Alex?
Indeed. So this guy basically led the Git mobs from Hysh into Akshi during the Age of Chaos. Now, as you can probably think, that was several hundred years ago.
Yep.
That is pretty old for a grot. And the reality is, he's not very old for a grot. When the first Drogs got hit by an arrow, his Snarlfang there ran up to the second in command and went, go on, and jumped on, and there was a new Drogs. And there has basically been a continuation of various grots that have taken on the role of Drogs throughout history.
So his Mount Jagged Snarl is actually the one that's been keeping things together.
So he was born in Hysh under the light.
Yeah.
He's really intelligent, and he's lasted a very long time. Really, he's the boss.
He's the hero with a cool little grot model that comes on the back for free. Once per battle, you can use the Time to Scarper rule, where nearby friendly units can run away from combat they are already in, which is nice. Really love this miniature. A really cool background for this one as well. And it's maybe not quite as heroic as the miniature would seem, which I like.
You'll notice something in the background of this artwork here.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Flying up in the sky. Look at this. It's the new Gitz Doom Diver Catapult, a wonderful recreation of a classic Games Workshop miniature, the Doom Diver here. We've seen it in Warhammer for 30 years, and here it is with these wonderful interpretation, huge as well. Alex, why on earth would a grot put on wings and get inside this thing?
For a grot to volunteer to be part of the Doom Diver crew, we've got to put a lot of emphasis on the word volunteer there. Rarely does that occur. So basically, he straps on wings, he puts on a metal helmet that again has absorbed the light of Hysh, so upon impact, it explodes.
That's devastating. I love the fact there's a little tiny snotling at the back on the mechanism.
There is. So the mechanism is so unreliable that the only one that's allowed to use it is a snotling. They're the most expendable of grots.
I love it. The actual damage it does on the battlefield represents how big this miniature is. It's monstrous shooting attack. It does 4 attacks, rend 3, damage 3. But actually, what's nice is you can re-roll the hits representing the Doom Divers trying to sort of use their wings to careen into the action. And every time you use a re-roll, it loses some rend there. So it's just a really nice little narrative piece and a wonderful miniature, a great centerpiece for your Git Mobs army. Let's have a look at some heroes on some chariots. This is the Snarl Boss on a Warwheeler. Some Snarl Bosses prefer riding ostentatious Warwheelers, it appears, rather than riding a Snarlfang. So
the Snarl Boss basically has to outsmart one of these alpha Snarlfangs. And if you've managed to get 2, you can get yourself a Warwheeler. They tend to have the best gubbins, the shiniest things. And as you can see, his belly is looking rather large.
Yeah, it's a really nice little nod to some classic Warhammer, isn't it? So you've got quite the paunch on in there, isn't he? Bless him. It's a lovely miniature. And up next, we've got the other hero that's also part of the same kit. This is the Frazzle Git Shaman. It's a little wizard there on top of a giant skull. Why is he so high up, Alex?
So the Frazzle Git Shaman, as you can imagine, are obsessed with absorbing the light of Hysh. And he's hoping that by being, 7 or 8 feet extra in the air, you might get a little bit of juice. But
does it work?
Well, that's debatable. However, being up there, it gives him a really good line of sight. He can see over the mists. He can see all the enemies. So it does help him in the end.
He's got to fall off quite regularly, though, surely. That doesn't look very stable. What a wonderful, wonderful piece. Now, there will be a Gloomspike Git spearhead on the way, a very Snarlfang-themed Wolfie spearhead. It's not going to be released for a little while yet, so hold on for that one, folks. But just know it is on the way. But don't forget your current Moon Clan spearhead with all those horrible rock troglodytes. I've killed them once. I did that. I did it once. That's still legal to use in your game. No problems at all. Let's have a look at the Battle Tome as well. The last thing we're going to talk about here, the whole new book, everything you want to expect from a Battle Tome.
Oh, yes.
In the Mortal Realms, packed full of lore, who the Git mobs are, covers the battle formations for the Gloomspike Gits, the Git mob. There's something called a Squigalanch in there, which is great, and a Trog herd. Yeah, I just have an army of squigs, why not? That sounds fun. Painting guides in there too, loads of rules for all the units, and your Path to Glory rules let you raise a Grot or Troggoth hero through the ranks of the Path to Glory, which is just great.
That's very cool.
Really, really cool. It's time to move from one book to another, as we've got some stuff coming from the Black Library.
We do indeed.
So there we go. It's the Black Library celebration. Of course, happens every year, but this year's a little special, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're getting an entire week rather than, a day or a weekend. So we've got a huge range of books coming. As part of that, we've got Imperial Infantryman's Handbook.
That one's actually coming out alongside the Krieg stuff we saw before, a little bit before the celebration,
indeed.
but we'll talk about it now
Sneaking
anyway.
in ahead.
What is this one?
And so this combines the Uplifting Primer and the Departmentum Unitorum Handbook, basically in one solid tome. This one is slightly Krieg themed, so this was previously owned by a trooper, picked up by the quartermaster, and eventually will be redistributed to the troops.
It's great to see. It's, of course, the books that we've seen before,
Yes.
But just repackaged into this nice little book, new version. And of course, don't let the Commissar see you without your copy, of course. What else have we got coming for the celebration?
So we've also got the Art of Warhammer 40,000, which is over 200 pages of beautiful images. We've got Outer Dark and Red Tithe from Robbie McNiven, which we've seen before. These are the Carcharodon Astra books, but these are returning in special editions. We've got the Shade of Cain, which is basically Malineth, Gotrek's companion, has deserted her post and is free now again in the world. She can't return to the Agents of Azir. Gotrek doesn't particularly want anything to do with her. And the world has changed a great deal since she departed. And this is basically her trying to make her way through. We've got Hell's Last, which is the next in the Minka-Lesk series from Justin Hill. We've then got the Gotrek and Malineth Omnibus. Now, this puts together 8 novels and short stories of Gotrek's adventures in the mortal realms, and it comes to nearly 1,000 pages.
That's a mighty tome.
Yes, so if you're looking for something to read early next year, those dark nights, this will keep you going.
That's fantastic stuff. Of course, there's more coming for the Black Library celebration, but we'll reveal those on the Warhammer Community website at some point soon, for sure. There we go. That's been a wonderful preview. We've seen some really cool stuff there. Haven't we?
Whole host of kits.
We've seen Old World, we've seen Deathcore,
Yep.
we've seen those new vehicles for Horus Heresy, we've seen the Age of Sigmar stuff, of course, both the Auric War Plans and the Gloomspite kits. Had a sneak peek at what's coming over the Grotmus calendar.
Oh, yes.
Now, normally that would be enough for a preview,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
that's a lot.
It's quite a bit, but it's Christmas, and we're feeling quite generous. So here's some more stuff.
From the webway, the Eldari have returned.
Here they are. We've been sneaking and teasing about them. We've mentioned a few things.
Yeah, and we've seen that Fuegan model before.
Yeah. But finally, the entire Eldari are here. And I tell you what, Alex, there is a war host's worth of miniatures coming our way. Let's take a look at what we've got. Now, you've mentioned Fuegan. We've seen him already a little bit before. This model is just absolutely beautiful. Tell me and those watching, who is Fuegan? Why is he a big deal?
So he's one of the Phoenix Lords. These guys were basically the original exarchs of the Aspect Warriors. And every time they die, another one takes the armor and basically takes the place. So it's almost like this combined spirit of all these warriors, all this experience. And Fuegan the Burning Lance, he basically embodies the act of oblivion that could bring peace, because they all embody a different aspect of Calum en Shakain, the god of war.
So he's like, when he's playing 40k, Fuegan's like, if I kill the entire enemy army, there's no more conflict anymore.
Yeah, there's peace.
Great. I like that guy. He carries his custom fire pike, Seer Song, the most devastating melter weapon in the game, pretty much. It's strength 14, damage D6, melter 6. It's just amazing. And his big axe as well, don't get near him. So near and afar, he's a problem. Just a wonderful miniature and really nice to see. Sculpted banner as well.
Oh, yes.
I love a sculpted banner. Good to see that. But of course, Fuegan leads the Fire Dragons.
Indeed.
Another new plastic kit.
So these guys, again, they embody that idea of destruction.
Yeah.
And one of their little kind of quirks is that they've got the intuitive ability to understand where to shoot to destroy an enemy war machine or tank, and the Exarch there in the middle. The Exarchs also have some past lives involved in their armour, is able to do that for even tanks he's never seen before.
That's so cool. There's nowhere to shoot it.
Yep.
They're in the soft spot. That's fantastic. The whole unit carries fusion guns, which are melter weapons by another name, really. And if you've ever fought against Eradicators for the Space Marines, these guys have a similar rule called Assured Destruction. They can reroll everything. So they're going to kill what they shoot at. What's really nice as well is there's a new weapon option for the Fire Dragons. Fire Dragons, they've got flamers. So they can have flamers too as well. So don't want to take a fusion gun, maybe have one there for maybe persuading your opponent not to come anywhere near you. And the Exarch has different weapon options. You can carry the giant fire pike or even a dragon axe for devastating close combat attacks too. So there's a really nice plastic kit with lots of different options in there. Really nice to see them in plastic. Also coming in plastic, it's more Aspect Warriors. It's the Swooping Hawks. These guys look drastically different, Alex. Tell me about these.
Yeah, so these guys basically wear incredibly lightweight armor, and you can see with those wings, they're able to take to the air and give that aerial support. They can scout out a little bit, but what they like to do is they like to go really high up. And so if you're looking up, there's just this tiny silhouette above you that strikes down and wipes out everything.
That's terrifying. I don't like it at all. They are carrying las blasters, which is a lovely little blast back to the past of Eldari. They shoot 4 strength, 4 shots apiece. They can drop grenades on people as they fly over as well. And the Exarch has a choice of lots of different weapons, including the Sun Pistol and Power Sword, which you can see the model carrying there. They're just a really cool utility unit. And Alex, they're all standing on hero rocks, man.
It gives them a nice little level of dynamism.
Really beautiful models in that iconic teal armor color scheme. Just great to see. But of course, they also have a Phoenix Lord, and here he is in plastic. This is Baharoth.
Yes, Baharoth, the Cry of the Wind. He trained on Azuman, as all the Phoenix Lords did. He was the first of their kind, and Baharoth was the first to basically master the abilities of aerial combat.
That's why he's got these big old beautiful wings on the back there, and he carries a terrifying weapon called the Fury of the Tempest. It's like a super duper Hawk's Talon weapon, and he's just devastating. A great model having your force makes your Swooping Hawks even more agile. He can help them fly off the table and come back in strategic reserves later on, which is lovely. Just a beautiful miniature and wonderful on the table as well. It's worth mentioning that all these Phoenix Lords are both devastating in shooting and combat. While you might think this guy's specialised in... No, they're all just good at everything. But then they're Eldari, right? You mentioned him before. Let's have a look at this. This is Azuman, the Phoenix Lord of the Dire Avengers, and what a miniature that is.
He is absolutely brilliant. He was the first of the Phoenix Lords and basically mastered all of Kane's sort of aspects of war and taught the other Phoenix Lords various elements of that. So they each embody one aspect of it, but it's Azuman that kind of embodies that central doctrine of battle, that calm, strategic mind.
As you can imagine, for a mentor of the other Phoenix Lords, he's absolutely devastating on the tabletop too. The Bloody Twins, his personal shuriken weapons there, are damage 2. And the Sword of Azuman that he carries there has 6 attacks at strength 6, AP 3, damage 3. He just cut Terminators in half with a single sweep. And fair, he's been around for a few hundred years, so he knows what he's doing. Just a wonderful miniature and a great model on the table, and another sculpted back banner, which I'm here for. I love those banners. Coming alongside these releases is the new Eldari Codex as well, and it's a bit of an overhaul for the Eldari here. Now, we expect new rules and detachments and things as we were before, and new lore and everything else you'd expect to see in the book there. But there's a couple of things that's worth pointing out here. First of all, the Strands of Fate rule they had before has been replaced with a rule called Battle Focus. Strands of Fate let you use those dice to predict the future as a Farseer might do. But Battle Focus instead teaches your force to move more agile, with more agility around the table. So really playing on that Eldari aspect of being super flexible and super fast, which is nice. Don't worry though, Strands of Fate is still around, but only in one of the detachments, the Seer Council detachment, and it's changed a little bit. Now, talking of detachments, there are 7 in this book, which is really cool, going from the War Host, the Wind Rider Host. If you want an army of Wraiths, it's there for you. If you want an army of Harlequins, they're in the book as well, which is nice to see. And the really one I wanted to point out here is the Devoted of Your Need, the Yanari units, because the Harlequins and the Drakari units you can use in the Eldari forces are in the Codex itself.
So you've got all the Harlequins, all the Drakari in there, so you don't need to worry about bringing, other battle codes. It's all solidly in.
It is indeed. It does mean that the Eldari Codex is a hefty tome.
Chunky.
It's a big old chunky tome, but it's all in there in one place, which is really good to use. And yeah, be excited about that. That's really cool. But that's not all coming for the Eldari. We've saved what we think maybe might be the best till last. Because there's one last unit of Aspect Warriors we haven't seen in plastic, and here they are. It's the Warp Spiders. Alex, who are these guys?
So these guys basically embody the path to victory through defense. They're incredibly tough, but they're also, they've got a fair bit of shooting and combat in them. However, their main trick is with those backpacks. They're able to jump into the warp very briefly and essentially teleport somewhere else.
That sounds dangerous, man.
Yeah, they can arrive unseen. However, Eldari souls are really in demand by Slaanesh, and so to spend any time in the warp whatsoever is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, those warp generators that they carry on their backs give them a rule in the game called Flicker Jump that reflects what you just said. And they can move across the battlefield up to 24 inches, which is monstrous. And they all carry a Death Spinner, which is basically a souped-up flamer. So imagine the utility that has in the game. But of course, if they use that warp generator to do that Flicker Jump, there is, as you mentioned, some risk to the unit. They might not all make it out alive, which is cool. The Exile's got loads of options here. You can see they've got a Power Blades and the old Death Weavers there. Other options include the Spinner rifle and a whole bunch of power blades where you can get up to 10 attacks for your Exarch in combat, which is great, even though they can't charge when they've used Flicker Jump, unless you happen to take what I think is my favourite new miniature of the release. This is the Warp Spider Phoenix Lord, Lycus. Tell me about Lycus, Alex.
We have waited decades
really
for
have.
this.
Yeah, we have.
So Lycus, the Whispering Web, is the Phoenix Lord of the Warp Spiders, and basically, she's one of the most active of the Phoenix Lords because they're all out and about in the galaxy in various ways, shapes, and forms. However, she spends a huge amount of her time in the warp, incredibly dangerous. That is basically the embodiment of Caleb and Chicane's willingness to do anything to destroy the foe. So she'll appear on battlefields across the galaxy, unasked for, unaided, and as you said, will accompany a great range of warp spiders to slaughter everything and then disappear straight back in the warp.
Absolutely incredible miniature. I love it bursting out of the warp there on the model itself, and absolutely monstrous in the game as well. She carries Weave Render, that's her sword. It's terrifying. And her rule, if she joins as Warp Spiders, they can use the Flicker Jump rule and then still charge.
So if you take that Exarch with the extra attacks,
it's a problem. It's a real problem. So yeah, look out for her coming soon. It's a wonderful miniature. What a way to end the preview. That's fantastic stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, there is loads more information about all of the stuff we've seen here today over on the Warhammer Community website. Make sure you go there for extra pictures, extra information as well. Don't forget to follow us on our social media. See if I can remember them all. We've got Facebook, we've got X, Instagram, Threads, YouTube. I think that's all of them there. For all the latest information, catch up with us there. And of course, we've got some stuff coming on Warhammer Plus quite soon, Alex.
Oh, yes, indeed. We've got a whole new, slate of shows for seasons coming up.
I thought we'd just get that in there. That's why we're here, you see, really. Thank you all so much for everyone who's behind the scenes helping with the stream. Really appreciate that. And if you're there this weekend at the World Championships or the Grand Narrative itself, have a wonderful time. You're there now. You're there right now. How are you even here? This is crazy. Thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been a wonderful show. Thank you, guys. And we'll see you next time. Happy holidays.
Be controlled, fear forged into obedience, into faith.